Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the world you are. Hope you are doing great. I love that music, so I couldn't start the session, just was listening to the music. So that was perfect.
Good.
So, welcome, everyone. So, glad to see all of you here again. Despite this is our last session for AI 900 fundamentals. So, we are so excited to wrap up the whole bootcamp today with reviewing a little bit from the previous sessions as well, and also going through this session. So, Said, do you have anything to share?
Yeah. It's really amazing. I have to say thank you so much, everyone, that you've been with us with past sessions, and this is the last step. And after that, I would say that we can get into the AI world as like a boot camp, right? It just needs to be prepared for the exam AI 900, and we got a lot of good feedbacks. Thank you so much for those feedbacks that you sent for us, and it gave us a lot of energy to continue. So yeah, thank you so much.
That's the
So
drive.
yeah, exactly. So let's get a start, Hamid, and
Yep. Let's
then
go.
yeah, and as usual, removing the image to make sure everyone can see the full screen. Great.
That sounds good. Yes, as Said mentioned, that gives us a lot of energy. So we are so happy to see that with the training boot camps and the AI skills challenge, even if you get familiar with the AI services, that it has an effect in your learning path, in your career path. We are so happy to see this after you share your achievements with us in socials. You mention us. So this is really amazing. So keep going, keep learning, keep getting into the challenges. So we learn with challenges. So today's uh, last session of AI 900 bootcamp training session. So we're gonna talk about generative AI services with Microsoft AI services. So how you use, so first of all, what are generative AI services in general, and how do you use them? So um, with Microsoft AI services in general. So we'll explore also a little bit about the we'll talking about a little bit about the LLM, large language models, and so what is also LLM or large language model in general. However, before that, I want to dive into the previous sessions and talk about a little bit about the NLP. So, do you have any ideas from the previous sessions? What is NLP? You can put in the chat. Anyone remembers about NLP, what it does stand for, so what it does in general. So what are the Microsoft AI services for NLP? What are the use cases? Just put in the chat, and we will be so happy to see.
And one more thing that I would like to add, Hamid. So this contribution today, if people contribute with answers and so on, we will give discounts and also badges from Zero to Hero community. So people get in touch and make sure that you are contributing with answering.
Right, yeah, exactly. We love contribution. We love challenges as the community. So as much as we see, and we really started to get to know the learners and the people also that are really active within the community. So we would love to actually support the people and the learners who are really enthusiastic to learn more about Microsoft Cloud technologies, Microsoft Azure, Microsoft AI services. So Hermine Turner, thank you. It stands for natural language processing. Bushra Enayat, exactly, that's correct, natural language process. So let's get into it with having a little bit of review from previous sessions. So NLP or natural language processing is the area of AI that deals with making sense of written or and spoken language. So that actually affects and works with the text or the spoken language. And the services like language, AI language, AI speech, AI translator, and etc. that involves the language actually. So this is one of the, I mean, this was one of the training sessions. Actually, we tried to break into down in different slides and share it in different sessions to have a better understanding of it. So in general, the NLP solutions, they start with a large volume of raw text, which involves also pre-processed to prepare for a modeling. So before you going to create a model or have a model with creating with your machine learning models, so you go through the raw text and proper pre-processed items. And actually, there are many pre-processing techniques that can be applied to the text, including, let's say, for example, stop word removal or eliminating common words with a little semantic value. In this case, like at the letter A and etc. Or we can say, let's say, the letter D as the grammar. Or, for instance, the stemming or lemmatization of the single word, for instance, universe or universal, might be represented as a universe. So this is what all the NLP process involves, and you get the result as this after the models of the machine learning models applied to your data or to your information or to your text. For instance, many of these approaches were extensively used in a statistical modeling techniques that relied on counting the frequency of words in text to drive meaning, but are not so important in modern deep learning techniques. For instance, one thing that is commonly done through is the tokenization or tokenizing the words, which we will talk about later in this presentation in our next slides, which is also one of the important topics. This represents each distinct word or phrase with a technique numeric identifier. And so these set of the tokens for a given corpus of text represents the vocabulary for the language model. So in this case, common tasks that we use as a language model to support those includes text analysis in this case, or often you need to analyze the text in a document or extracting a key phrase. Opinion mining and sentiment analysis. So this is also a common form of text analysis that calculates a score indicating how positive or negative a text extract is. And beside that, we also have another use case for machine translation, which international and cross-cultural collaboration in this case is often a key to success. And this requires the ability to eliminate language barriers. And we have actually many examples or use cases that we can discuss here. But as the last example, we can go mention summarization or summarizing a text actually. So this commonly applies for instance, you might want to take a large volume of text and generate a summary of a key points. So hope that reminds you a bit from our previous sessions. However, if you really want to go through the previous presentations and the training sessions within this AI 900 bootcamp, these are all recorded sessions in our YouTube channel. So I'm going to move forward with the next slides. So to start with generative AI itself within our last session of AI 900 bootcamp training. So let's go to the next slide. So this is our agenda for today. We'll go through fundamentals of generative AI as mentioned. We will talk about, in general, with starting from very, very basics of generative AI. So what is generative AI at first? And then we'll go through fundamentals of Azure Open AI services. And then we'll go through explore responsible generative AI, which is also really important topic within the AI world. So keeping the AI responsible, what it returns as a result of the models you apply to your data. So let's go through it. For the learning objectives we have in this slides, so what we will learn, so after completing this module and also the whole bootcamp training, so in overall, we will have an overall idea of what is AI in general, what is data, what is large language model, so what is machine learning, what is machine learning model, so how do we create it, what are the neural paths that we create with the data with machine learning. So these are the key points that are not mentioned here, but I'm mentioning them from our previous sessions. However, specifically with this module, with this session, we will learn more about generative AI, describing the capabilities of large language models, which are the key points for this session. And as a last, understanding how using Azure Open AI to create generative AI solutions. So you see, generative AI is a solution or is a service that we create, again, using our own data. So let's get it started. Fundamentals of generative AI. I'm going to go to the next slide. Yes, here we are. So we talked about AI at the first. And now we're going to talk about generative AI. So now the questions are already started to popping out in our minds. So what is AI and what is generative AI? What are the differences? So we already went through this. So we know what is AI, that it tries to imitate human behavior by using the machine learning models you create, using your own data or your organization, the organizations that you work for, the organizational data, that to interact with the environment and execute the tasks without explicit directions on what to output. So now we know what is AI now and also from our previous sessions. However, let's talk about generative AI. What does it mean? That creates original content, again, such as generative AI that has been built into chat applications. Generative AI applications take in natural language input and return appropriate responses in a variety of formats, so that it generates something for you in return of the data that you put and applied as with the machine learning models you have. You've built it already within your Azure Machine Learning Studio using your own programming, using your own statistical algorithms and your own scripts using Python or any other language to train that data. And now it starts to generate results for you. So that is the main difference with the normal AI and the generative AI using your own data. So if we could say what is the most popular example in today's world for the generative AI, do you have any ideas what could be a generative AI in today's world? You can just simply put in the chat. Just anything comes to your mind as the first example. So what could be the most popular generative AI service that everyone or we are using now in a daily basis? Yes? Thanks, Bushra. Come on, yeah, we are using it. ChatGPT, Mertat, yes. This is what I had in mind actually to mention. So ChatGPT is a great and most popular example of generative AI. Yes, Copilot, those all generates stuff for us. Wonderful. Yes, Gurmeet Kaur. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. ChatGPT, yes, again. That's correct. Wonderful. So yes, ChatGPT is one of the most popular examples in today's world as the generative AI. So let's go to our next slide. And now we are getting to know about large language models. I'll go through the slide and we'll break into the details at the next slides. So generative AI applications are powered by large language models, which are specialized type of machine learning model that you can use to perform natural language processing tasks. So you see here that these are actually integrated or related to each other at some steps. However, the only step or only place that they differ from each other is the machine learning model you apply to your data. So any kind of machine learning model, any kind of statistical or algorithm you put, how much or let's say how it depends on how complicated, how complex your machine learning model is. So if you want to have something generated out of your data, so that actually becomes your large language models. So determining sentiment or otherwise classifying natural language text or summarizing a text, comparing multiple text sources for semantic similarity and generating new natural language. So this is called also large language models in this case, which you'll use as a machine learning model to apply to your data to have a generative AI application or any kind of service you would like to use in your organization or for your to provide service to your clients. Let's go to LLM transformer model. So here, machine learning models for natural language processing have evolved over many years, as far as we know with today's AI services from different big techs and big service providers, Microsoft or other service providers, which they also provide AI services. So that actually there is a big competition now, right now. So every company tries to build their large language models and apply to their data using ours, using people's and their users' data to train their LLM or train their machine learning. So this service becomes more intelligent every day. So let's see what are the differences and what actually the encoder or decoder is, or what is the tokenization. So, for instance, today's cutting-edge large language models are based on the transformer architecture. And that means which builds on and extends some techniques that have been proven successful in modeling vocabularies to support NLP tasks. And in particular, in generating LLM or the language itself. The transformer models are trained with large volumes of text, enabling them to represent the semantic relationships between words and use those relationships to determine probable sequences of text that makes sense. Here, the transformer models with a large enough vocabulary are capable of generating large language model responses that are tough to distinguish from human responses. So here comes the big difference actually with this example. In practice, the specific implementations of the architecture vary. Let's dig into it. For instance, the bidirectional encoder representations from transformers, which is also abbreviated as BERT or BERT here in this case. And the model developed by Google to support their search engine uses only to encoder block. So the search we do actually in Google also that uses also this model as the transformer architecture model here. And however, while the generative pre-trained transformer GPT model developed by OpenAI uses only the decoder block here. So now we know also what kind of architecture OpenAI uses for their LLM models. However, while a complete explanation of every aspect of transformer models is beyond the scope So we'll go through in the next slides, and we'll see how and what kind of use cases we can support with the generative AI services. In this case, for this training module. So here also we see the text is actually tokenized. So each word or phrase is represented by a unique numeric token. And those tokens are assigned embeddings and in vectors. So we know the vectors from previous sessions, values with multiple dimensions. And here the attention layers examine each token in turn and determine embedding values that reflect semantic relationships between tokens. So at the end, the decoder, these relationships are used to predict the most probable sequence of tokens. So we now have an idea about the transformer model architecture that applies to the LLM models. Let's go to the next slide, and we'll go through copilots. I remember I read somewhere about copilots. Uh, it is Microsoft Learn, and we always mention about Microsoft Learn that make it your homepage, and because you have really good training paths, really great modules that defines the path for you from fundamentals, from basics to advanced. So, for instance, in my free times, I always try to create my customized path or go through the challenges. For instance, the AI skills challenge, which is running right now, is a really perfect way and perfect ways actually to learn more about Microsoft AI services, but also learn about AI itself in general, because it's not just one company providing the service, the LLM models or machine learning as a model, but also the other companies which you can use these trainings to have a better understanding and to see the differences, which is really important if you want to become an architect or senior engineer to or an AI engineer or an AI architect to build those models, to decide. Because with becoming an AI architect or an AI engineer or a developer, you need to have a better understanding of the competitors as well. So to know if, for instance, the A company has this service, so what can I create using these services with Microsoft? So that mindset moves you towards becoming a solution architect, knowing about different tools and applying those different tools to the solutions and the problems or the things that you want to develop or find a workaround for it. So let's explore about Copilot. Imagine yourself as a pilot. So you're sitting behind a plane and you want to take off. However, you need also an assistant. So that is Copilot. In this case, the co-pilot here also refers exactly the same. So we as engineers, as architects, as analysts, as data engineers, as the person or individuals in the tech industry, we are the pilots. We are sitting behind our laptops, behind our computers, our workstation, and we want to do something. Here, Microsoft introduced copilots that acts as the copilot for you as you are sitting in a plane and you want to take off or you want to land. Doesn't matter. So this copilot here is your assistant. So these are the independent programming applications that are deployed in the cloud or when using in your workstation. And so as you can see here also in this slide, so integrated also with other applications to provide a way for users to get help with common tasks from generative AI models. So developers can use these different kind of copilots, which we will go through in the next slides to explore more about copilots. So you see why we come to copilots here. The reason is it's generative AI session. So because as also you guys also mentioned in the chat, so Copilot is also a generative AI service. You generate something with it. So developers can build copilots that submit prompts to large language models and generate content for use in applications. We will explore later in this session, so what kind of the copilot it is that you can use to generate code and get help for your code as a developer. And beside that, the business users can use Copilots to boost their productivity and creativity with AI generated content. So in general, the common architecture, developers again can use Copilots with various business specific application and purposes. Um, Beside that, the M365 Copilot works also alongside with you in productivity and communication apps, such as integrated again with PowerPoint, with Outlook, and so on. This is the greatest point, that it is this generative AI service as Copilot is integrated with every service you use. So also in Teams. So currently in Teams, in your Outlook, you're on a vacation, you come back, you ask Copilot, hey, Copilot, how was last week? I was off. So you will get a summarize of the things that have happened in the previous meetings. So this is the use cases and the things we see with Copilots, and now we know what is the Copilot itself, which Microsoft introduced. So imagine yourself as the pilot and put Copilot as your assistant. So now we have different services which Microsoft already added as co-pilots, actually in plural, to integrate with different applications and also the used applications we use on a daily basis. So now we know that as Microsoft Edge Browser Copilot, we have in there, you can sign in, you can choose what kind of AI service you want to use, and that Copilot enables you to summarize the page you're currently browsing or to generate a new content. Isn't that amazing? So I really love using it in a daily basis, and so that improves actually the productivity. So I always share in the sessions and also in training sessions. So AI services here to improve the productivity and save in time. So instead of before AI, instead of spending lots of hours, days, and weeks in summarizing something or getting through and reading everything line by line, now you can just ask for it and you'll get the results in just seconds instead of in weeks. And then beside that, we have Microsoft Bing Copilot, which is also a search engine that provides a copilot to you to help you when browsing or searching the internet by generating NLP and natural language answers to questions you have based on the context rather than just search results of indexed pages. So this is also the next level of search engine which Microsoft brought with Microsoft Bing Copilot. However, beside that, the most exciting one is GitHub Copilot. So if you're a developer, I mean, not just a developer, and we all use code in our daily basis, from PowerShell to Python to Go to C Sharp, C++, any programming language. And we know about Visual Basic, VS Code, the simpler version, and you can have GitHub Copilot as an extension or as a plugin that is integrated in your application. So you might not get 100% of the code. For instance, you might not be able to say, hey, GitHub Copilot, give me that application and the project from zero to hero, in this case. However, it is kind of a professional assistant for you to help you to save a lot of time in writing code, in helping you to troubleshoot your code, or regenerating your code to make it more secure with the best practices from the based on the standards in whole world. And these GitHub Copilot recommendations and the codes are coming from open public repositories on GitHub. So the developers, which they share their best practices and their ideas and their codes on those repositories. So GitHub Copilot machine learning models or LLMs, they start to calculate all those codes from public repositories that are hosted within GitHub, and then they return the results to you with anything you ask. For instance, as you can see also here, the developer tries to say functions in Python or in PowerShell. And if you have also other files that are also hosted in this repository in your folder, it might guess that what you want to write as a function. I used it personally, and it saved me a lot of time actually within different projects, different environments. As mentioned, you might not be able to create an application from scratch to the advanced level, but this is a professional assistant that you can use within GitHub, and I really recommend to start using it as the just to check it how it works and just to experience it. I'm sure you already used it and you have experience using Edge Browser Copilot or Bing Copilot and GitHub Copilot. So let's go to the next slide. I'll get a little bit of water. Okay, improve generative AI responses with prompt engineering. So the term prompt engineering here describes the process of prompt improvement. The quality of responses that a generative AI application returns not only depends on the model itself, but also on the types of the prompts it's given. So now we see the type of the prompt we provide here is also one of the important things. The prompts are actually the ways we tell an application what we want it to do. So this is the command. So this is the order you give to the AI, you give to the application. So imagine as an engineer, you can add instructions for the program with prompts. For example, developers may need or may build a generative AI application for teachers or create multi-choice questions related to text students they read. So during the development of the application, developers can add other rules for what the program should do with the prompts it receives. So we have several examples here. Let's see writing, for instance, let's see how writing a good prompt will look like. You can achieve better results when you submit, for instance, the word dear or specific prompts, or the system message that you can have here. So the system message sets the context for the model by describing expectations and constraints. For instance, let's imagine this as a system message. Your helpful assistant that responds in a cheerful, friendly manner. So this is one of the prompt messages we have here. So these systems messages determine constraints and styles for the model's responses. And so on. Here we see the direct language system message providing example and grounding data. So let's go through the descriptions we have here. Can get the most useful completions by being explicit about the kind of response you want. An example is create a list of 10 things to do in Edinburgh during August. And the other could be describe how the chat should act. So your helpful assistant that responds in a cheerful, friendly manner, and so on. As the next slide comes, I suppose I'm gonna hand it over to Said. So Said,
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic, Hamid. Thank you so much for the all the explanation regarding generative AI, which is really important to learn about that. And it's kind of, I would say, fundamental of many things regarding the AI area.
of course. Yeah, this is actually I tried to go a little bit deeper despite like out of a scope of this course.
Yeah.
So I believe like we will most definitely have advanced levels of the AI sessions, which we have currently also, but also the trainings to go more in details with workshops in the future. But I hope this gave you a good understanding and a concept of what the LLM and generative AI looks like. So, Said, stage is yours.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So basically, before I start, continue with explanation or fundamentals of Azure Open AI service, I would like to challenge you guys and ask you the question. So the question is, we learned about Copilot, right? And Copilot, it's enough powerful right now to do a lot of things regarding the M365 Copilot Studio. You can build a lot of tools and so on, and it's easy to use, right? So why we need to learn about Azure Open AI service? Why we need to do that? Why we need to learn about Azure Open AI service, and basically how we are going to use that? What you have in your mind, share with us in comment. I would like to hear from you guys. Anything? No? Yeah, I know it's a pretty enterprise solution basically. uh if there is no any kind of answer, let's okay, we have someone here. Method creating our AI based apps. I like this answer. Yes. Maximize use of Microsoft AI services. This one is correct too. Copilot is powered by OpenAI. Uh, yes and no, because many things powered by OpenAI, but basically it's important to understand how we are talking about use cases, right? So when it comes to Copilot, we are talking about the solutions and services and applications that basically we can create it easily, because Copilot is like an assistant to you, right? But when we are talking about Azure Open AI service, we are talking about building enterprise application, because there are a lot of uh, opportunity and services and options that basically we can use and leverage those options to build applications based on AI, right? So let's continue with the slides. And the first one, what is Azure OpenAI? So Azure OpenAI service is Microsoft Cloud solution, of course, for deploying, customizing, and also hosting large language models. It enables users to leverage pre-trained generative AI models, customize them, and utilize built-in tools to detect and mitigate harmful use cases, all while maintaining enterprise grade security standards. So basically, you have an environment that you can build a lot of things based on that. But when we have Azure OpenAI service, what kind of things, what kind of services consist of this service? First of all is pre-trained generative AI models. What does it mean? So Azure OpenAI service provides access to pre-trained generative AI models that are capable of understanding and generating human-like text, which is super awesome. These models have been trained on vast amount of data to understand the nuance of language and produce coherent, contextual, relevant responses. So it means we have a pre-trained generative AI, and we can do a lot of things with that, right? The second one is customization capabilities that we have on this Azure OpenAI service. It means users can customize the pre-trained AI models to adapt them to a specific use cases or domains. So this customization allows organization to fine-tune and basically to fine-tune the language models to better suit their applications. So they can enhancing the accuracy and relevance of the AI generated content. So basically, as I've mentioned in the past option, which is pre-trained generative AI, and it's not only pre-trained, but also you can customize them. The third one is tools to detect and mitigate harmful use cases. And this one is pretty important. And why? Because Azure Open AI service comes with built-in tools designed to detect and mitigate harmful use cases. These tools are crucial for implementing AI responsibly. And basically, we can ensure that the language models operate within ethical and regulatory guidelines, which is very important, because when we want to build an application based on AI, we have to make sure that we are follow those rules, those guidelines. And the last one is enterprise grade security. Okay, what does it mean? So, to maintain data security and access control, Azure OpenAI service offers enterprise grade security with role based access control. We already heard about that, right? So, RBAC, we already heard about that in Azure services. So these items, this option is applies on Azure OpenAI services too. And also, we have private network. These ensure that only authorized users can access and interact with the language models. So it's providing a secure environment for AI development. So when we are talking about Azure OpenAI services, then we need to understand about models. And those models are kind of basic part of things that the application that we want to build, because we have to make a correct decision. So here I'm going to explain and kind of describe these models. And these is the basic ones. And also right now that I'm explaining these slides, we're having more models, but yeah, they are based on these models. So if I want to explain it easily and like in a simple language, Azure OpenAI is like a team up between Microsoft and OpenAI, right? Where they combine the best AI models and tools from OpenAI with security and ability to grow off the Microsoft Azure cloud platform. So it's a kind of contribution, right? Microsoft works together with OpenAI to bring the newest and most advanced language models to users to Azure OpenAI. This partnership gives access to the latest language model innovations so the users can take advantage of them. So that's a great collaboration. But let's talk about the model that right now supported by Azure OpenAI service. So in addition to GPT-4, which is the latest generation of language models, there are a few other models supported by Azure OpenAI service. So right now we have GPT-4 Turbo and also GPT-4 combined by Vision, which is a multi-model. But in this table, I want just to explain what are these models and what are basically use cases. So the first one is GPT-4. These models are the newest generation of the language model and really good to understand and completing natural language prompts. On the other hand, we have GPT 3.5 models. These models are also great at understanding and completing natural language prompts. There's a special version called GPT 3.0 Turbo, as we have for GPT-4 right now too, that's optimized for chat-based interaction. So both GPT-4 and GPT 3.5 basically are great for natural language and chat. So it depends based on the token, based on the application that you are going to build. You can use all one of them. And the other hand, we have embedding models. If you remember past sessions, we talked about the embedding models and how they actually do work. And here we have embedding models in Azure OpenAI service. These models convert text into the number. So I think right now you remember what I'm saying about the past sessions, which is helpful for comparing text sources to find similarities. They are useful in language analytics scenarios. So basically, it's a kind of converting like text to numbers to embed the text to be able to use for different applications. And the last one, which is DAL-E, and I really like it. These models are used to create image based on natural language prompts and also work at different scale. So basically, we have 4 models here, and of course more, as I mentioned it before. These models work at different speeds, right? And have different costs. So we need to design and decide based on what we want to get as an output to be able to identify which model is the best for us. And in some cases, you need to use different models for your application. But how? I'll kind of show you how you can use that and leverage different models when I want to demo the environment. So for now, let's jump to next part, next slide, which is how we can use Azure OpenAI. This one is pretty simple. You can basically enable the service and create this service in your environment by several clicks. But basically, one thing that you need to know, you need to request for enabling this service in your environment, in your subscription. And then you are able to create the service. So to be able to create that, currently you need to apply for access to Azure OpenAI. And once it's granted, you can use the service, of course, by creating the Azure OpenAI resource. And then you can use the service through REST API, Python, SDK. I'll show you, or the web-based interface in Azure OpenAI Studio. So for now, let's jump from this one. Yep. So Azure OpenAI natural language capabilities. Basically, Azure OpenAI's models are designed to understand human language, natural language, right? And provide a meaningful response. These models can be used for a variety of tasks, including generating text, answering questions, and providing conversational response. And as you can see in this slide, in left side hand, we have an example giving a prompt where user basically type the text asking a cooking recipes. And as you can see, it's pretty simple, right? Ask for a recipe and mention an ingredients. And then in right side hand, we have the AI answer, which is generated by AI. So it uses those information that user provided, and then based on natural language capabilities, it answers as to the answer. And basically, this part is really important because you need to understand the prompt engineering. Sometimes you need to be enough good at prompting to send correct question to receive the proper and most accurate answer, right? So this is an example. It's a very simple example, but when we want to receive a proper answer, then you need to be enough clear when you want to ask your question. And next slide is about interesting part. Hamid already mentioned about Copilot, but of course you have this option in Azure OpenAI's code generation capabilities. So we already talked about Copilot, right? So it's like your AI program assistance. So it's a collaboration between OpenAI and GitHub to create an AI-powered programming assistant. And it brings the capabilities of OpenAI Codex to the developer environment, and specifically as a plugin for a platform like Visual Studio Code. And it's really amazing. And how does it work? So first of all, we have integration with developer environment. Once you install install and active the plugin, you can connect the Copilot service, and basically that means you write the code and Copilot starts suggesting, and the next step of the function or method you are working on based on the code, comments, or the name of the function. And it's the same where you are using Azure OpenAI service. So here we have code generation, which is check the code based on from the natural language prompts, and basically it gives you the code that is generated by the AI. So basically, you can use this option to work when you want to create or build or update your code. So you have these options as models in Azure OpenAI service as well. The other service is Azure OpenAI image generation capability. So Azure OpenAI DALL-E is, from my perspective, I think you are in the same page with me. So it's a really fascinating technology that combines deep learning with natural language understanding, and also image generation. It's like a super active robot that understands what you are saying and can create detailed image based on your descriptions. Imagine you are telling a story to a friend about like snails wearing a watermelon as a shell. It's funny, right? And your friend easily visualized this right in his mind. That's what DALL-E does on a large scale, more interactive scale, I would say. When you give it a prompt such as a cozy cabin in the middle of a snow forest, something like that, it's able to generate a vivid like life image of that exact sensory. So in short, Azure OpenAI DALL-E is like an artist who can turn word into imaginative and visually stunning works of art. And it's really amazing, right? It's really interesting. I really like it. So before I jump for the last slide, which is having a look on Azure OpenAI service, let's see what we have here in the comments. Bushra asks, I think business users using their own chatbot for organization. So basically, it's kind of true. So you can use different AI services, right? So you can basically use Copilot or creating a bot based on Copilot Studio, which is pretty easy to create. Or if you want to create a complex bot based on AI. So you need to use, some more enterprise services like Azure Open AI service. So you can leverage this service to build complex bot to be able not only answer to your prompt, but also do some functioning in background. And it's really important. That's why we are saying in some cases, maybe Copilot is the best way to have an AI environment. Or if you want to have an enterprise solution, then you need to look at other solutions like Azure Open AI services. There is another question. Is there any minimum requirement to be granted for OpenAI services? Right now, you need to fill it out a specific form, which is a kind of form from Microsoft. And then you need to add some information, included the company, the organization that you are going to apply, and why and which services you are going to apply. And plus of that, basically, you need to be specified if you are going to apply for the organization or behalf of the organization. There are several questions, but when you apply for that, it doesn't mean that it's going to basically Microsoft is going to enable all of those requested services to your environment. So you can apply for that, and it takes maximum, I guess, 24 hours to receive the answer. But normally Microsoft goes to apply, to enable the service, at least the minimum part of the service, some like other models, not GPT-4, not DALL-E, but of course GPT 3.5 Turbo in your environment. And really important, in which region? That's another question that you need to have before apply for the service. So for example, Sweden Central, if you apply for that, you will get most services that are enabled, that are available to provide to customers right now. So it's important which region, of course, you need to apply that. And why a grant is required? I'm not sure what part it's basically you asked this question, but it would be perfect if you can be a bit clarify to your question when you said and why a grant is required. I think it's about if you want to grant big grant for the OpenAI service. Okay, so first of all, Microsoft needs to keep track of these requests, and second of all, right now Microsoft is on high demand of the request, so they cannot allow you or everyone to be able to use this service. And Microsoft is going to extend his basically its data centers based on the new chips, new technology, new data center, and so on. And that's why Microsoft needs to get those requests based on the form. So before New Year, if you applied for the service, you have to wait for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to be able to use the service. But nowadays, if you apply for that, you will get access to the service, I think maximum in 24 hours. So right now is pretty easy to use the service and apply for the service easily. So yeah, let's jump to the OpenAI service, which is really cool. In this demo, I'm not going to show you how to create the service because it's super simple. After you apply with the form that I mentioned, you will receive an email. It means you're able to use the service, and then you can go to OpenAI service in your Azure portal. And after that, you can create the service. There is no many information needed to be able to create the service. So you just need to define resource group, region. There is only one service tier version. And then if you want to enable private or public access to your AI service. So for the test, you can start with public, but of course you have this option, as I mentioned in the last slides. Basically, you're able to create a private connection to your AI service, which is really cool. So As soon as you created that, you are able to log into Azure AI Studio, and you have several options here. Let's say we have playground and also we have management. Here we have models. As you can see here, I have a lot of models here. And also there is a deployment. So you can create or do a deployment here, which is based on the models that are available in your environment. And then you have several things here. You can create an assistance, which is really cool. And if you remember, I said in past sessions, there is some instructions you need to define for your AI to be able to receive the proper answer. And then you can add some more options here. So we had a question regarding like creating own chatbot. So these assistants, it's something like that. So you can define the instructions, you can define the deployment that you want to use. In this case, I use GPT-4. And then if you want to go through a specific function, easily you can create a function. Of course, you need to do it in like JSON format. And there is some examples, for example, for weather. I can easily save this one, and then it saves as the function I can use for my chatbot. However, let's jump to the other part. So there is a playground for the chat. So I can define here, I want to use this deployment that I created. Of course, I can have one more here. Let's say AISC-2, AI Skills Challenge. Sorry, not here. In job, we need to select the model. If it's selected, okay, there is some bug here. So for example, here I can go with like GPT-4. We have Whisper here, which is for the text to voice, voice to text, and so on. We have like DALL-E, DaVinci, and a lot of models, even text embedding. So you have a lot of option here. I go with GPT-4. Which model? Preview version of Vision, which is multimodal, so you can combine Vision and GPT-4 together. I'll go with this one. Preview standard is good for me. AI Skills Challenge version though, and then create. So easily, I just created the model. And then chat, and here I can select it, and hi. Sometimes it takes time to deploy, but it's pretty fast right now. So I can ask a lot of questions, right? So it's connected to GPT-4 model, which is updated to 2023. And yeah, I can do a lot of things here. Beside that, we have DALL-E. I have generated these images just for fun, like a dog that looks like a fly, a dog flying, a dog engineer. So DALL-E can easily basically generate those images. So you have a lot of options here. I'm not going to dive into the AI services, but what I wanted to show you, we have one option here, view code. So as you can see in this view code, I can select the type of the code that I would like to use. And here, if I copy and paste this Python, use my key here, basically I can use that for my application. To be honest, I've tested with PowerShell too, and it does work perfectly. So it doesn't mean if it's Python, it just only works with Python. Of course, you can use this information and use for the application based on the framework that you are using. And you have same option here, that's here, for GPT-2. So you can easily do that, right? So let's jump back to the slides. I think we have one question here. What is that? Can this deployment be embedded in our app? How it can be available public? So basically, yeah, I already answered that. So if you remember, I mentioned that you have two options here. You can keep it private, or you can use the public connection. If you use public connection, of course, you're able to communicate with your AI service easily in public connections. However, if you use private, then you need to send your request, or the application should be able to assist, basically reach to your AI service in your interconnection inside Azure. So it's something like that. Next slide. Yes. Responsible generative AI. Before I start this one, I would like to mention that uh, we had a great session with one of our speakers in one of these Saturdays that we had in Microsoft Zero to Hero community. And that session was specifically about responsible generative AI and all of those things related to AI responsibility. So if you want to learn more about that, I encourage you to watch that session. However, we need to explain it here too. So plan a responsible generative AI solution, and it's super important. Why? Because Microsoft has outlined practical and actionable guidance for building and using generative AI models in a responsible manner. This guidance involves a four-stage process to develop and implement plans for responsible AI usage with generative models. So, what are those stages? First, identify potential harms. Very cool, right? The first stage involves identifying any potential negative impact that could arise from using generative AI and also models within the Planet solutions. The second stage is measure the harms, which is basically this stage focuses on assessing and measuring the presence of these identified harms in the output that the AI models generates, those understanding the extent to which these risks affect the solution. And then we have stage 3, which is mitigate the harms. So in this stage, developers work to minimize the presence and impact of these identified harms of multiple levels in the AI solution and communicate transparently about potential risk to users. And the fourth stage, which is the last one, is operate the solution responsibility. So operating the solution responsibility, basically operating the solution involves defined and adhering to a deployment and operational readiness plan, ensuring that the generative AI model is used in a responsible and safe manner. So these four stage, guys, is really important. So we have something called NIST, which is AI Risk Management Framework. You can Google it. So it's NIST. So these stages closely align with the function specified in the NIST, which is AI Risk Management Framework. So in indicating the harmony in principles and goals between Microsoft guidance and the the environment and these AI responsibility. So we just learned about generative AI, Azure Open AI services. We had a look on the environment, and also we learned about concept of responsible generative AI solution. As usual, we have a slide which is related to knowledge check, and we would like to actually ask you to answer this question You know what is the result. Basically, we're providing the Microsoft exam vouchers for all of the Microsoft fundamental exams, which is 50% off discount. And also at the end of this session, we're starting the evaluation of these, your contribution, your presence in the sessions, all of the sessions. And basically we're giving out for the first time the Microsoft Zero to Hero badges. So I would like to see your contribution in these questions. And we have only 3 questions. So let's start. The first question, please mention the number of the question and then answer. So which one of the following would you classify as generative AI? Pretty easy. Is it transcripting speech into the text, or writing a new report, or extracting information from a receipt? Which one? We have only one answer. Okay. So we have one answer here from Merdad, which is correct. So it's writing a new report. Let's go for the second one. How can you demonstrate the generative AI capabilities of Azure Open AI without writing a code? Oh, yes, we already have an answer, which is correct. OpenAI Studio, which is perfectly correct answer. Let's go with number 3. You are designing an application using Azure Application OpenAI Services. What steps should you take to ensure responsible use of AI in your application? And this is the last chance. Is it nothing is required? Responsible AI is built into the model, or creating a plan to include training potential users? Or yes, that's the correct one. Thanks, Grumit. Question 3 is C. So thank you so much. So it was great. We already have 3 winners, and of course, as I've mentioned, we are going to share the vouchers and badges. But before we ended up this session, don't forget, scan this QR code, which is basically Microsoft Learn badge, and you can easily add it to your social medias like LinkedIn or other places. So it's really great to have these kind of badges in your profiles, and also in your CV. Why not, right? So perfect. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you already scanned that. So let me jump in here. And where is my picture? I'm here. Amazing. So if you haven't scanned it yet, please make sure that you scan it. Thanks again. It was the last, actually, it's the last session, last steps of the AI Skills Challenge here. So thank you so much that you've been with us. Keep in touch. We having a lot of plan, and stay tuned. Microsoft Build is pretty close, so we have a lot of plan for that one too. So make sure that you are not going to miss that one as well. Thanks again. Wish you a great weekend. And if you haven't joined us yet, aka.ms/join02hero is the place that we would like to see you. And if you have anything that you would like to share us, that's the great place, and it's a kind of circulation of the knowledge. Again, Don't forget to mention us and follow us in LinkedIn, YouTube, and our learning room. Yeah, hope to see you soon again. Thank you so much, everyone.